All right, I want to talk about this Disney story because it does seem like Disney is retreating from this fight that it picked in Florida like a wicked witch at the end of a princess movie. Now, this is a good lesson for us all that woke capitalism is a farce and a distraction, and I want to explain why. So the issue began when Florida passed the Parental Rights Education Bill. It's been dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill, although I think that is very reductive. And I'm pretty sure it's an anti-campaign slogan that opponents came up with to reduce the bill to nothing that we can maturely debate. But I want to try and maturely debate it here. So take a deep breath. Now, of course, we all need to be able to say the word gay. That's not really the issue. So let's look at what opponents of the bill have an issue with, and let's look at how they've dragged Disney into this and how Disney got burned by their dragon. And I can't help all the Disney puns here. I just refuse to stop myself. So one portion of the bill, this right here, talks about how classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity is prohibited from kindergarten until third grade. If this happens, a parent can sue a school district. Sexual and gender instruction can be, of course, widely interpreted in this case. So what if a teacher talks about little Jenny's two daddies? What if a gay teacher mentions anything about their partner? But that's only one provision of the bill, provision 7. The rest of the bill provides that schools cannot keep children's medical records or medical procedures from parents, nor can they come up with policies to keep things from parents. So where does this come from? How, you may ask, can a school keep students' medical concerns from a parent? I get a call every time the school nurse notices a bump on one of my kids or a scrape or a cough. So what is this about, right? It comes as a reaction to certain states that do allow these things. This is about gay and transgender students. Currently, there are bills that allow schools to keep kids' sexuality and gender from parents. In some schools, cis minors can leave school for hormone treatments without parents' permission.
What?
That is, to help their bodies stop puberty and change genders without the parent being notified. This is allowed in Southern California.
Move out of California.
So in California, parents can opt out of sexual education if they want to, but the legislature there exempted all materials related to gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation from the opt-out, meaning parents cannot opt out of this type of instruction. The schools will teach it to them, no matter what you, the parents, say. New York, New Jersey, Colorado, Illinois, Northern Virginia, and Oregon have all done similar things in school legislation. In Oregon, transgender hormones and surgery is even covered by Medicare, and that includes for young adolescents that run away from home. How can this be, right? You wonder. It came from legislation in Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, which allowed young women to access birth control without parental consent. So since birth control is a hormone, much like transitioning medicine, it is similarly applied. So I ask you, should children younger than 18 be able to take hormones to block their puberty and transition genders while they're in school and keeping it from their parents? The argument in favor of this is this: some children will be harmed by unsupportive parents or will harm themselves if their parents stop them. The Florida bill, though, has a provision for this. It says that if a school thinks that a child will be harmed, it can take alternative routes and not inform the parents, but instead get help from the authorities. Okay, puberty blockers are not a neutral act, and a child should have guidance beyond the public school system if they want to take them. Puberty blockers stop brain development, suppress normal bone density development, increase risk of osteoporosis, can reduce sexual function and IQ development. The puberty blocker most used for teens is this here we have on the screen called Lupron. Lupron is FDA approved to stop what's called precocious puberty, like if your 4-year-old starts getting a beard or boobs. It is not FDA approved to halt normal puberty, and there are no studies to show that it is safe for children and adolescents. So look, I get it. Sexual dysphoria is agony in children, and humans have a history of making it harder for them. But schools are making laws to give them medicine that could hurt their bodies without parental support. This can hurt them. In California, the school district can help make a young girl sterile without telling her parents. The school is allowed to go as far as to send home all documents in the student's birth assigned name, but use the student's transitioned name in the classroom and school in order to purposely deceive and hide this from parents. So you can see why some states like Florida might think to do the opposite. Is the Florida bill well written? Maybe not. When litigation inevitably starts up over someone actually saying gay in the classroom, we'll see what the courts say. But the legislation has passed because elected officials support it, and I don't personally think it's completely misguided having read it. So you can see why this is a tricky bill, and reducing it to don't say gay helps deflect all of these other important issues. So when people who support gay rights hear about this law without any nuance that I just discussed, they sought out companies to help strike down the law, like Disney. Originally, Disney wanted nothing to do with this because why should Disney tell states what to teach in the classroom? But Disney has a large presence in Florida with Walt Disney World, and Disney fans and employees began leaning on Disney to stop this bill. I think this is an asinine way to think. A company with a lot of power and money in a state should exert more influence than elected, chosen officials. So think about it. Elected officials are supposed to represent voters. Voters are supposed to be ranked equally. But woke people are asking a company to have more influence than voters because they are wealthy. Isn't that the opposite of what we're supposed to want? Shouldn't we not want a company to have more power than people? Initially, Disney was silent about this until the woke mob turned its magic wand on the mouse with their boycotts and hashtags. So in late March, Disney released this statement saying that the bill should never have passed. Do you see this one right there? They said this bill should not have passed and that Disney is going to do everything it can to get it struck down in court. Well, Florida politicians did not appreciate this. They said that if Disney wanted to get involved in elected politics, then it should not have the special political exception that it currently has. You see, Disney was granted the right to self-govern the Florida property that it owns when Disney World was created over 50 years ago. This arrangement was made by Walt Disney himself and his brother Roy Disney. It allows the company to expand on that land whenever they feel like it with hotels and theme parks without expensive and lengthy bureaucracy along the way. So this, I think, is the perfect example of why woke capitalism is an oxymoron. Disney is protected in a way that an individual can never be, right? Disney is also a corporation that can also be sued in limited ways. It has protection. Therefore, it cannot and should not exert its political will. Most liberal thinkers don't want corporations to bend politics except when they do. And you cannot have it both ways. What if Disney helps to repeal the Florida education bill? Would we be happy? Maybe. What if Disney then decides, hey, I'm powerful politically. Maybe I'll do more politics and issue myself more tax breaks. Maybe Disney's going to give itself the right to limitless carbon emissions or punish union leaders with impunity. You see how crazy it is to try and get politicians or to get corporations to do politics for us because we don't like what elected officials have done. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, Disney was blindsided when Florida actually began to repeal its special privilege. They didn't see it coming. So Disney let their dogs out, lobbyists, its political affairs team, the works. They asked Democrats to stall the bill and tried to schmooze the governor. So for now, the bill is still working through some red tape, but it is still a very real possibility. Disney will have to sit in a dungeon while it waits its fate. And you better believe that they're going to fight harder to get the state of Florida to not do this than they would to repeal any education bill, which in my opinion, they had no business getting involved in the first place. And so what of the woke mob that came after Disney to pick this fight? Well, in this book, Stolen Focused, journalist Johan Hari, do you see the book cover there? That one, please. He points out that social media riles us all up like hornets by promoting inflammatory content over niceties. So the woke mob has a larger voice than they would have otherwise. So if you're going to say something online like, hey, Disney, I'm boycotting every princess until happily ever after unless you do my politics for me because otherwise you're a homophobe and a bigot and a transphobe and that kind of thing. Well, of course, the algorithm makes that content more likely to be engaged with, promoted, and reshared than, say, someone who would say, I actually don't want Disney getting involved in this because my vote should matter more than Disney's money. So the angry mob has a larger voice, a louder voice than reason does right now. And social media turns up their volume for its own gain. So I think this is a lesson for us all to not make the mistake of thinking that corporations want to do your politics for you. They do not. And by pretending that they do, they get to turn our attention away from all kinds of things that they don't want us thinking about, such as the tax breaks they get that individuals do not, the polluting they cause, that kind of thing. So pretending that you can bend a corporation to your will is like wishing on a star for a fairy godmother to turn your pumpkin into a coach. It's fiction.
I love all of the Disney references.
I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, that was great. So
Thanks.
Yeah,
so can I chime in, like, not kind of a counterpoint to this, but I see that, like, especially like we'll take Florida, like where you have the problem of that you do of like gerrymandering, where you end up with these like people that are just completely disenfranchised, but the ultimately the votes don't really matter. No elected official gives a damn about the electorate. So in that situation, when they're just doing whatever they want and they're just running over the people of their state and they don't even care what the people of their state say, they're just pushing their political agenda. Yes. People don't have power, so they have to go to the only people that do have power in government, and that's people with a lot that money. And so, like, in that situation...
Yes, but we're shooting ourselves in the foot by giving these corporations more money, right?
Right, no, I agree.
And it's also sort of like maybe the new version of going to, like, I'm going to call up the reporter from Channel 6 who does those investigative reports, like John Carl on your side, and he's... honey, I'm going to call up that John Carl from Channel 6 News and see if he can get this bill repealed.
Maybe. Yes, I get what you're saying is that our democracy is not perfect. And because of gerrymandering, not everyone's wish is represented in their elected officials. This is a separate problem. But as my grandmother likes to say, you can't go around your elbow to get to your ass. You're going the wrong way to get what you. So we should instead fix our election, not hand more power. Because think of all the money Disney already has in lobbyists. The fact that Disney can pick up the phone and get politicians on the phone and say, "We didn't mean it. Let's not do this.
Let's have lunch."
Right? They already have too much power. So us, the people, are handing them more. And that is a mistake that will hurt us in the end.
But we also have to have a collective awareness that this sort of woke capitalism is a bunch of, it's a bunch of bullshit. It's hypocritical, right? For us to expect Disney to do certain things, but then look the other way at, say, Uyghur genocide in China. So you can go and film your latest Mulan movie, right? And then you can thank the Chinese government for all of, so you can make money off of China. But then you can also be woke on the other hand and like support Black Lives Matter and support the repeal of this sort of legislation.
Yes, but I do think that the media around this education bill has made it seem like Florida politicians are just bigoted a-holes without any rationality. But I think if you read the bill, you realize there is some rationality here. We could talk about it if we weren't so concerned about being right and being polarized at this point.
I did see there was a media analysis of media companies and how they've covered this story. And overwhelmingly, 10 to 1, the coverage, maybe it's like 1,000 to 1. The mainstream media has called this the "Don't Say Gay" bill.
Yes.
When they almost, and only 18 times have they actually called the bill by its actual name.
Yes.
Because that's how they do it, right?
Right.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website, to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.